this is Wellness Wednesday. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about anxiety. If you haven't seen it, pop back and watch that before watching this one. Last time, we talked about there being helpful anxiety, anxiety that helps you speed clean the house before someone visits, although you might need a bit more of a speed clean by the time someone's allowed over to your house. Helpful anxiety has a reason and an end. Like watching a young kid going down the slide on their own for the first time, asking someone to have coffee with you, or a driving test. There's a really clear reason why you're anxious, and there's an end point. Unhelpful anxiety is anxiety that shows up and doesn't have an end point, basically. Unhelpful anxiety can build up and actually prevent us from doing things. It can be a real bully and stop us from doing things we love and doing things that we need to do. And this can range from leaving the house, making friends, going to the shops, wearing something we really like, sleeping, eating, planning for the future, and underpinning all of this, basically, it steals our hope. Sometimes anxiety is super obvious. Someone might identify as a warrior, or you can tell they're anxious by their body language. Sometimes it's almost secretly under other emotions, behaviors, and habits. I mentioned last week that we spoke that my job at the moment is being a phone counsellor in the employment sector. This means I talk to people from all walks of life, and I've noticed that anxiety often shows up as anger, frustration, and inflexibility as well. Sometimes it looks like overconfidence and extroversion, and a lot of the time it shows up as needing to be in control of circumstances and people. At the moment, most everyone is experiencing anxiety and higher levels of anxiety that they may be used to. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have a mental health problem. If you're curious, if you or someone else you love does though, check out Jim's video from the week before. That's really good. I've noticed over the years that there are different opinions on what is mental health and what some people call spiritual warfare, or another term to describe the spiritual atmosphere being difficult to be in, or spiritual attacks. You might be watching this as a Christian. You may have completely different spiritual beliefs, or you may believe that there is little to no spiritual interactions in our world. For me, I believe that no matter what your spiritual beliefs are, if you're experiencing anxiety, even if you've been feeling it for years, even if it's become your normal, there's peace available for you. And ultimately, we know from the latest neuroscience that we are in charge of our brains and how they operate. This means that we're in charge of how we experience anxiety as well. We are all brain surgeons, and by growing increasingly mindful, literally, we can teach our brain to think in ways that bring peace and hope into our lives in ever-increasing measures. In our current context, we believe that meditating is all about filling our minds with the truth by dwelling on what is pure and holy, what is true. And day by day, we reroute the pathways in our brains, building truth highways. We can do this by inviting the Holy Spirit to be a bouncer, if you will, at the door of our minds. The Holy Spirit is a wonderful and kind teacher, and we can grow in our sensitivity to his presence, helping us know what is something to let into our minds, for us to think about, for us to meditate, for us to imagine, and what isn't. In this way, we are all like radios, or for a more relevant picture, I guess, a device that picks up Wi-Fi signals. We automatically pick up the station or the Wi-Fi that we're used to picking up, and we will be unconsciously picking that up during the whole day. So if you grew up in a house that was worried about money or safety, you may automatically pick up thoughts around having enough, being enough, or just danger around, worries about what could happen to you or your family. If you've experienced trauma, you may automatically pick up worries about getting sick and having to go to hospital, or something related to what you've previously experienced. Mindfulness, counseling, growing in our ability to turn unhelpful thoughts away at the door of our minds, this all changes our brains. It's really cool. And therefore it changes our lives and our world and our families and our friendships. Doing this work is kind of like learning how to drive, learning a language, or really any other skill. You start off by being really focused on how to do it, like driving. I remember when I was learning to drive, I could only do one thing at a time. And then I slowly integrated each skill in. Kind of like learning piano or typing when your hands are doing different things, but work together. To do this work, you can set aside a small amount of time every day to focus on this. And one day you'll be finding that you just do it when you're feeling stressed or anxious. You'll just automatically do it. When I was recovering from PTSD, I would consciously sit down and listen to a CD. This is a while ago now. I guess they don't really do that anymore. And that the psychologist gave me, and I would do progressive muscle relaxation. So progressive muscle relaxation is a really good tool, especially if you're someone that doesn't like to sit still or your mind wanders off really easily, because it helps you ground yourself and your thoughts in tensing your muscles and releasing them. It's really good. I'll attach a walkthrough in the comments. But that's what I used to do. So I would do it every day consciously, and I'd have to really focus because it was not my normal. And then actually a few years later, I was, a bit of a gross story, getting something cut out of my leg, gross. And it was really painful, and it was taking them heaps longer than they thought it would, so the painkillers were wearing off. And there was a moment where the doctor and the nurse were like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I realized that I was totally fine because I had gone just almost automatically into that meditative place where I was focusing on being calm. So it was really cool to see that my daily, or I probably didn't do it every day, but very regularly, that exercise of being mindful really paid off when I needed it, and I still do it to this day. Another example is there was a time that I was feeling really anxious and overwhelmed, so I picked one activity a day that I would do mindfully. So for me, I picked laundry. So what would happen was when I had to fold the clean laundry, I would focus on the textures of the towels, for example. So let's just say I was folding tea towels. I would take a deep breath, and I would notice the ground that I was standing on, what the floor felt like on my feet. And then I would, as I smoothed out the tea towels, I'd take a breath, and I just mindfully folded them and appreciated them and put them in a pile. And that was my one activity. I probably didn't do it every day because we didn't use that many tea towels. But folding laundry was the thing that I did, that every time I did it, I chose to do it mindfully. And now, even now, heaps of years later, I still really like folding laundry. So not only did I change my mind about laundry, like I enjoy it now, but also it has created more helpful highways in my brain for peace. So whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed, I can go to that place, not like literally folding tea towels, but I can go to that place that I've stewarded and choose peace. So hopefully this has been helpful for you today. I'm trying to make this one a little bit shorter than my last one because I rambled for a really long time because I really love talking about this stuff. But I'm going to put in the comments just some really helpful links and things that you could do, that you could just put into your everyday life. So if you're doing walks a lot at the moment to just get out of the house, I'll put in some information about mindful walking. I really, really like mindful walking. It's one of my favorite things as well. And there's heaps of different ways to do it depending on who you are and what you like doing. So that's it from me. Hopefully we'll see you in person soonish. But until then, I just bless you with the peace of Jesus, and I bless you with the overflowing hope. Take care. Bye.